Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, to our WandaVision Episode 7 Review and Synopsis podcast. My name is Ethan,
And I'm Bryan.
and we thank you for tuning in to our channel. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell for notifications to make sure you're up to date with all of our WandaVision Review and Synopsis podcasts. And if you haven't already, which I probably think you already have since you're here, you can watch WandaVision streaming exclusively on Disney Plus every Friday. And, oh yeah, also before we get into this video, this will be a spoiler alert heavy content. We're going to be discussing spoilers, so if you don't want any spoilers for episode 7, stop watching now, go watch episode 7 of WandaVision streaming exclusively on Disney Plus, and come back to our channel and watch this video. And make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Alrighty, Bryan, anything else you want to discuss
Uh,
before we get into the
Other
episode?
than, well, you just said the disclaimer. Just so everyone knows, just like the past two episodes that we've been doing, we are going to do the same setup of talking about the episode until the sword aspect cuts in, and then we'll find that sweet spot, and then we'll continue on from there.
Right, because again, episode 4 kind of revealed like the behind the scenes stuff of what's happening within the WandaVision TV show. And so basically, the formula that they've been following since then, episode 5, 6, and today's episode, is that they've been jumping back and forth between the sitcom world and the actual world. And like there's a sweet spot, the climax inside the episode of where the two plots meet up. And so our coverage of it is we'll talk about the TV sitcom plot first, and then when Sword interacts with the sitcom plot, well, then we'll backtrack to cover the previous Sword scenes, and then jump back to here and explain everything.
Yep.
Alrighty then, so let's get into WandaVision Episode 7. Where do we begin, Bryan?
Well, if you haven't already guessed, if you haven't paid attention to our previous podcasts and how I start every single podcast and episode review, we start nowhere else than the beginning. However, for this episode, I am going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to talk about the title sequence first, just get that out of the way because this one has a few things I want to talk about. And then we'll just continue on with the episode. So with
Alrighty
this
then.
opening title sequence, we well, it's at least to me, it is very reminiscent of The Office. In fact, the entire sitcom part of the episode kind of feels like The Office with the whole like interview setup, like mockumentary type of setup. And even in the title, breaking the fourth wall, that's something that they do repeatedly throughout the episode.
Yeah, it's even the title of the episode. And so, yeah, I haven't watched The Office myself. I only know of it because of the memes, but I know, like, the kind of the direction. Like, this episode is now set in the 2000s decade, like how I said each episode would jump decade by decade. And so now we're in the 2000s era, and basically, it follows, it's reminiscent of the sitcoms of that decade that they're emulating. And so, like, I don't know anything about The Office, but I know it's of its direction. So I don't know if The Office like kind of revolutionizes for 2000s sitcoms, but I know it's something that a lot of other 2000s and even 2010 sitcoms do. And so basically, like, I didn't the kind of tone and direction that I got from this episode was more reminiscent of Modern Family. I don't know if you've watched that, but that's basically the feeling that I had from it.
And so the title sequence in this one repeatedly says it says Wanda on like different things. So like a street sign, like a deli mart kind of place, license plate, like letters on a fridge, and things like that. And it just says that while music's playing until the end when it says WandaVision in its full glorious title. Um, and a few things that I got from this is well, one, um if you just a little Easter egg, if you look at the license plate, if you pause it and you look at the numbers that are on it, it actually is Stanley's birthday.
Really?
Which, yeah, it's a little interesting fact.
Wow.
The other and then now the other things that I have to talk about, it's just two really quick things. Is that one of the images that pop up when it's saying Wanda is one of the images says, "We know what you're doing, Wanda." Or I don't know if it's I don't remember if it's we or I, but it says something like that.
That's funny.
Um, and then the final thing that I kind of caught is if you at least this is what I took from it, and this is how I felt while watching it. But because the camera zooms in on the same image every couple of images that it shows, like it zooms in on the license plate twice, I believe, um, and it zooms in on some other things like twice. It almost feels like, at least to me, it felt like someone was like calling out for Wanda,
Hmm.
almost trying to like get her attention. Uh, again, that's just what I got from
Well,
it.
here's the observation that I got from it, and this might be like jumping ahead a bit, because like with each I guess cutaway when it says Wanda, it's just Wanda, and the title of the show is WandaVision. Vision's name doesn't appear until like the very end of that title sequence. So and like within the episode, Wanda and Vision never interact with each other. And so basically what I'm thinking is like that title sequence is kind of like foreshadowing its the separation of the two, because Wanda is like trying to push Vision out of this episode actually.
I I'm surprised I didn't actually catch that until like you just mentioned it.
Where's
I'm just
Vision's
like,
name?
I'm just like, hey, look, WandaVision, woo, WandaVision. Then I'm like, oh wait, huh? I guess Vision only does appear at the end.
Right.
Funny.
Alrighty then. Let's head into what's after the title sequence.
So the actual sitcom episode, it starts right after the events of the last episode, the spooktacular. Um, because they refer to it as like last night and things like that. Um,
Right.
and I believe, yeah,
Yeah. I think like I said something about this like decades ago. No, not decades, but like a couple of podcast episodes ago. That I basically the theory that I had is like each episode is jumping decade by decade in its production design. But I kind of figured that like let's say the first episode was on Thursday, then episode two, even though it's the next day in context of the show, it's actually like say the first episode was Thursday, second episode was Friday, and then the third episode was Saturday, and basically in the context of the week, but it keeps jumping decade by decade.
exactly.
And so that's what they say here. Like the previous episode, the Halloween themed one was set in the 90s, and then this episode is set in the 2000s era. But they acknowledge that the basically the 90s episode was actually yesterday in content.
Yes. And even in the context of the real world aspect of the show, um, they do mention that in the story it's only been a week.
Ah.
Um, Even though for us it's been almost 2 months. Anyways,
Yeah, yeah. Like
uh,
if we were to get a bit technical here, the release episode of WandaVision was January 15th, 2021, and we are currently recording this on February 20th. So yeah, it's a little over a month that this show's been going on.
yep, and we still have 2 episodes left.
Oh boy.
Um, so anyway, so Wanda wakes up, she feels next to her on her bed, and Vision's not there because duh, Vision almost died for a third time. Anyway, so she feels to her side, he's not there, and then her kids come bursting in and they're like, Mom, Mom, wake up. Wake up. Is she sleeping? And she's like, I'm not sleeping. Mommy's just resting her eyes. And they're like, help us. Our game's busted. And she's like, no.
Yeah, can I comment on the scene? Because when they say that, they do a cutaway of them playing the games, and they're holding Wii remotes like on their sides, and then they just magically morph into a GameCube controller, and then they magically morph into an Atari controller, and then they morph
Yep.
into Uno cards.
Exactly. We're just going, and here's the thing: they're not even modern Uno cards. They're like the classic Uno
Right, yeah, they are
cards.
the classic designs.
And this is actually something that that occurs throughout the episode is that Wanda's almost touch in reality is like losing its grip almost. She's almost like losing her grip on reality, and so repeatedly things change and they like revert back into like they're like
Yeah,
they say that it's like the same object, um it just reverts back in time. Like for example with the Wii thing, like it changes into what entertainment was for that era.
yeah, because
So
like,
like it starts out with the Wii and then it reverts to the GameCube, which was something that was really big, and then it reverts to Atari, which was like one of the first big consoles, and then it
yeah,
reverts
that was
to
like
Uno
early
cards.
'80s, and then playing cards, which are like the old-fashioned playing, well, like not actual playing cards, but Uno cards, which are like a '70s thing. I'm assuming, but yeah.
Yeah. No, it's amazing how long like card games have actually been around and board games and stuff.
Oh yeah, no, like stuff like that can like date back to the like beginning of Western civilization back in the 1500s or something like that.
Yeah. No, it's a lot. It's a long time.
Exactly.
Anyways,
But
and then
yeah,
so then sorry.
I still wanted to go off of that because
Hmm.
yeah, like you say, like this whole thing is like persistent throughout the entire episode because a bit later on, Wanda actually gets out of bed, goes to like have some cereal, grabs one of the milk jugs. And you know it's kind of like your standard, I guess, milk jug. I don't remember if it was first a carton or like a plastic jug or what have you. But then like
It was started as a carton, yes.
okay, then she like the camera cuts away from the carton. Then we see the carton again in a next camera scene, and it is now a like a '50s glass milk bottle.
Exactly.
And then it does it again.
And
Then it
it
comes back to the milk carton.
hmm
Yeah. So
um
like, and this happens throughout like different objects throughout the entire episode. Because like, are you saying that Wanda is kind of like losing like the grip on the reality that she's creating or something like that? Could you explain that a
uh,
bit more?
I don't know exactly how to explain it because I mean later on in the episode, like like only like a couple scenes later, she mentions that like she honestly has no idea what's happening. Just the reality itself just keeps on trying to like she mentions that it keeps on trying to like change back. Um now Rachel, who sadly isn't here today, she actually, when we first watched the episode, she said that what she thinks is happening is that she thinks that Westview, is trying to revert into what it was before, like the reality took over, before the hex showed up. Again, who
Like,
knows?
yeah,
We can
I
only
wouldn't,
speculate.
like, I wouldn't say that because there's one scene in particular where the TV's reverts back to the like the old fashioned box TV, like not the CRT, but
Yeah,
like the '50s one. And I'm assuming since in world in universe this is 2023, and I don't think like the common man would have that kind of TV still in his house. So
exactly.
I just think like all the decades that Wanda's been producing are just kind of clashing with one another. Because not only is there
Yeah,
that '50s TV, there's also like that '70s painting, and then there's like the 2000 uh, potted plant that's still there, and then yeah, it's all kind of convoluted. I don't think it's trying to revert back. I just think the production design is lost.
yeah. Which now that which and since you mention it that way of saying that how it's like just kind of like lost, that makes a lot of sense actually, at least to me.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah. Uh, and so anyways, so then back to so she had just woken up. Kids come bother her because kids be kids. Um, and I believe yeah, Tommy, I think.
the green one.
No wait, then it's Billy. The one in red.
That one is Billy.
Billy.
Also, shout
Okay.
out to Billy for holding the Wii remote wrong. He has the D-pad on his right thumb.
Billy also mentions to Wanda that he keeps hearing voices in his head, and things like that. And even Wanda's just like, "You'll deal with it. Go." And then it cuts to again. This is something that just happens throughout the episode. It cuts to a little like one-on-one interview-esque segment,
Mm-hmm.
um, where Wanda's like, "Look, I am punishing myself for last night. So what I'm doing is I'm giving myself a quarantine staycation for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sure.
Um, and
That's totally
so
what you're
that's just
doing, Wanda. You're punishing yourself. Yes.
this is the best punishment I've ever seen. Um, and so she decides to just stay in and stay home and just not worry about a thing. Um, and then she eventually does get out of bed, and it leads into what we just mentioned about with the milk. Um, Actually, real quick, a little Easter egg in this scene, when she gets the milk. If you have subtitles on, the subtitles actually do say what the man on the TV is saying, even though you can barely hear it.
Oh, really?
If you look at the subtitles, the channel that's on is WNDA, which is basically just a shortened version of saying Wanda. Um,
I
just a
hate.
little Easter egg.
I hate.
Well, I mean, again, this whole thing does kind of revolve around her.
That is true.
Um, and the kids are just playing with the Wii. And then Wanda eventually does come back, and she has a bowl of cereal, and she sits down. And they talk to her and stuff, and they're like, "Look, where's Dad?" And she's all like, "Look, I don't know. I don't care. I can't control him anymore. Just don't worry about it."
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, she said she Wanda in this episode is very dry.
What do you mean
Do,
by
do you
that?
understand? What I mean by this is that she's very like she just says what's on her mind without caring about how it affects anybody. It's almost like she's not quite snapped, but come close. Even Agnes later on kind of says something similar. Um, but it's almost like she just doesn't care anymore about like
About
keeping up the charade,
facade.
facade,
You
charade, same thing.
charade. I don't know if that's a word, but I want that to be a word.
Potato, potato, Ethan. Okay,
That's
potato,
not potato
potato.
potato. You literally combine two words.
Shh, that's what English is.
Uh,
Okay.
that's
The,
not a that, but
the,
that's not even a compound word. You it's like doghouse is a compound word because it's dog and house. You literally took charade and facade and made it
Charade.
charade facade.
Facade. There you go.
It's
Are
all
you
your
happy,
fault.
Ethan?
It's all your fault, Brian.
Um,
Anyways,
anyways, she's so it's almost like she's just tired of keeping up the charade. Even in fact, when they ask about Uncle Pietro, um, even she just like snaps at him and is just like, "Look, he's not your uncle. Don't talk about him. Don't mention him. Don't say his name anywhere near me, or you will die."
yeah, because like in the
That's not
beginning,
what she says, but
yeah,
that's
and in the beginning, I found it weird that Pietro was not in the show. Basically, the last time we saw him was when Wanda blasted him away in the previous episode,
yeah.
and so
Um,
basically, I feel like Wanda is just trying to isolate herself as much as she can as a quote
mhm,
punishment in this episode.
yes. She just doesn't care anymore, really.
Hmm.
Um, anyways, so they have that little interaction. Um, and then she even says like, "Look, I just feel like everything is meaningless." and she just leaves that with the kid. She doesn't explain it. She just says, "Look, I'm feeling like everything is meaningless." And one more thing I want to talk about in this interaction is, and I just find this funny. Is she talks to the kids, and she's like, "Look, just you can draw your own conclusions from what I have to say. Just like have it your way, kind of thing." Like she says that to them, and I'm just like, "Hey, is that supposed to be like a jab at us fans who are trying to figure out every little piece of this episode of this show?" It's the
Maybe.
way, because the way she, and even then, and even after she says that line, the kids both look at the camera.
Marvel's trying to call us out, gang.
Exactly. When I was watching this, I was just like, I feel attacked. Um. So, anyways, that happens, and then she's like, "Look, these kids, they'll be fine. Vision's made out of vibranium. They literally inherited tough skin." Again,
Huh,
kind of referencing
funny.
that she just doesn't care anymore.
Yeah.
Um, and then Agnes knocks and she opens it without getting up. And then she says what a lot of us want to say and wish we could do, which is, I'd get up, but I don't want to. Uh, and Agnes kind of just is like, "Look, I'll take the kids. You have a you day. I'll take care of them. We'll have fun. Everything will be fine and dandy." And she's all like, "Really? You don't have to. Really?" And she's just like, "Look, I insist, but can you see if there's a mole on my back? I can't tell."
That was weird.
It was. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to. Again, it's kind of like really leaning into that mockumentary kind of thing, where like you catch the weird like
Mm.
bits of them, almost not like it's like scripted improvisation, you know,
Yeah, I see.
where like it's mostly scripted, but then you still have like those awkward moments of them just like experimenting with the characters. I put
Uh,
that in quotations. Um,
right. I get it.
and so then Agnes just kind of takes the kids home, and then from here we cut to Vision. And Vision has woken up from almost dying for a third time. He
Right from the
wakes up
previous episode. Yeah.
and exactly, and he sees the fun house that was created from when the hex expanded.
Right, because remember that was the old sword tent headquarters that they had set up until Wanda expanded the hex, and then kind of like it changed the production design. And so, yeah,
Exactly.
I like how last episode I was like, I wonder what theme the next episode's gonna be. And literally, this episode's like, yep, circus.
Yep, basically. And so they just so like you see clowns messing with the car, and things like that. And then the strong man of the show comes over to Vision and is like, "Hey, are you the new clown?" He's like, "I don't know what's happening." And he's like, "Look, you're late for rehearsal with the escape artist." Um, and then I believe after that, I think we just cut back to the
No,
Wanda.
no, because remember we have to meet the escape artist.
Oh, that's right, we do. So yeah, he meets the escape artist. To the escape artist is none other than Darcy Lewis, and her handcuffs were reformed into chains, and then she just breaks out of them easily.
Right.
And Vision even like is and Vision is trying because Vision remembers, but she doesn't obviously because she's been entered into the new reality.
Right.
And Vision tries talking with her and is like, "Last night, you were there. We locked eyes. We had a unspoken understanding." And she takes this as him trying to like hit on her. And even she's all like, "Dude, no."
That was totally intentional. Everybody, the director knew what he was doing with that one.
And so they have their unspoken understanding. Then they talk for a little bit, but he can't break through to her because it's the new, it's the escape artist persona and not Darcy Lewis. Uh, Then yeah, no, because we cut back to Wanda
Like,
after this.
how about for the sake of like getting stuff out of the way, we just continue with this Vision and Darcy plot, and then we'll go back to what Wanda's doing.
Okay.
If you're good with that.
Yeah, no, I'm perfectly okay with this.
Alrighty then.
Um, yeah, no, that's the thing about this episode is that this episode has the mini sword thing that happens, the mini vision thing that happens, and then it all kind of just ties together with the big Wanda plot.
Right. Yeah.
Um, anyways, so what would have been a cut back to Vision and Darcy. Vision and Darcy are still trying to talk. Vision's still trying to get through to Darcy, but her being the escape artist persona just isn't having it. Uh, and she again, they just make jokes about how she thinks he's trying to hit on her, and she eventually is just like, "Look, I'll go out with you, but I'm ordering the lobster." Just funny banter between the two, really.
Right.
And then they pass by a mime, and Vision's all like, "Oh no, that mime's tray, it's too heavy." And then she's all like, "Oh no, you're bad back." And then he brings Darcy Lewis back into the light. And Darcy Lewis is like, "Oh, okay, hello, self." She turns back to her sarcastic little self.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then they talk. They're like, "Look, okay, who are you? I'm Darcy." Yada yada yada. Introductions to each other, and then they make a getaway in this like, isn't it like an ice cream truck?
Uh, I think I don't know. I don't want to go back.
I'm pretty sure it's an ice cream truck.
Yeah, whatever,
Um,
whatever, like food cart was there with the circus. They make their escape from the circus tents, and yeah.
um, and so they make their getaway, much to the strong man's disappointment, because he tries to stop them.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they continue down the road, and then again, what would have been another cutaway. They keep on getting stopped at red lights.
No,
And
it's just this one intersection with a stoplight. and, and
yeah,
and then the stoplight turns green, but then a whole line of construction workers come in and block their pathway.
yep. And then Vision's like, this isn't one of those like one-on-one interview segments, where Vision's like, look, I don't think Wanda wants me to get to her. Uh,
Right, and that was a line that I had in mind when I was talking about like the whole title sequence that Vision's name never appeared once until the very end of that because they're separated for the entire thing because I think it was foreshadowing. And that's the line where I would cite that theory to.
yep. Um, And now also during this whole thing, Darcy is also catching up Vision because Vision has amnesia again, just like
Right,
we've
because
seen.
he
He
doesn't
doesn't
remember anything beyond Westview.
exactly. He doesn't remember anything before. He just remembers. He just knows what the plot of the show WandaVision is. Darcy just catches him up and is just like, "Look, basically, here's what happened. Bad guy came. Wanda killed you because you asked her to save the world. It worked for a little bit, and then the bad guy reround time killed you, and then snapped away half the universe. And then he tries to like kind of just like understand himself, and he's like, okay, so my code dates back to an AI called Jarvis, but my physical being was created by Ultron to destroy the world.
Yeah,
Essentially, yes.
essentially yes.
Um, and so they just give us basically it's just like it's like a 2 minute recap of Infinity War and Age of Ultron.
Yeah,
Half of the Avengers movies in 2 minutes.
exactly.
Um, and then this is when they keep on getting stopped from the red light
Right.
to the construction crew that
Yeah,
comes
because once the
by.
construction crew is left, They start up the van again, but it can only get like what, an inch forward until like a whole school of children crosses the road in front of them.
Exactly. And they have like the rope that you're supposed to hold on to and everything.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think that was
and
around when Vision was like, "All right, forget this. I'm gonna fly out of here."
yep, and he just whoops himself. He V clips out of the van and just leaves.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah, that's
and
basically everything about the Vision and Darcy scenes because nothing really
yep,
happens beyond that.
yeah. We don't see Vision or Darcy for the entire rest of the episode.
Right?
Uh, and
But
even
remember, this is all
now,
being like
actually,
cut back and forth between the Wanda scenes and the sword scenes.
yep.
So
And
it feels
actually,
like because like the
real quick,
Vision flying
oh,
away
sorry.
is like near the end of the episode. Yeah, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna bring up a joke that happens when Vision flies away. Darcy's all like, "And oh, okay, see you there."
Now
Um,
let's go backtrack to Wanda now.
yep. So Wanda, the last we saw her, she was just she was left alone because Agnes took the kids. And then it cuts back to one of those one-on-one interview segments, and she's all like, "I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. I honestly don't have no idea what's going on." And then for
You're
the
not
only
fine.
time during this entire episode, we actually hear now right before this scene happened, I was actually thinking to myself, I was like, in the context of the show WandaVision, who's recording this? Like I was actually thinking that as the episode was happening, and then this scene happened, and I'm like, oh, thank you for the answer. Because the interviewer, who, if you have the subtitles on, is just interviewer. Um, the interviewer has one line and only one line throughout this entire thing, and he asks, "Do you think that you are getting what you are what is deserved?" Because like reality is just like not like it's just changing around her, and she doesn't know what's happening. Um, so the interviewer just is like, "Do you think this is what you deserve?" And then Wanda almost flips out on him and is just like, "You're not supposed to talk."
Yeah,
Um,
I found that very intriguing, and I don't know if like other 2000 sitcoms that take this sort of direction actually like have the interviewer like they film the interviewer asking the questions to the character. I don't know if like they
um,
do that normally, or is like that's a very rare thing that is actually filmed or and
in
presented.
the from what I remember of The Office, in The Office, I know that they interact with the record like the filming crew a lot like in the actual show. They interact with them a lot, not just by like looking in the camera, but actually getting them to like film certain things for them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I believe there even is like a couple episodes or like a little bit like a couple like scenes of them actually like asking things. I don't remember exactly though. It's been a while since I've actually seen the show. And so in this, the way that I took the interview, her reaction to the interviewer is just another example of like the reality changing on her without her knowing.
Yeah.
Where like even though like in when I believe that she has an effect on like what the plot of each episode is to an extent. Um, and so I think that when Wanda made this episode, I'm using a lot of quotations here. When Wanda like made this episode, she wanted it to be a like mockumentary, like very like fourth wall breaky episode without the intent of having like an actual interviewer. She just wanted like that aesthetic.
Oh. Yeah,
You
and
get what I'm saying?
yeah, I get what you're saying, and I think like the reason why she made it that this kind of direction, and also on top of isolating herself from everybody in her life, was just so she could have like she could I don't know how to say this like she could vent or rant about her problems and just discuss it like one on one with herself.
Yeah. And that like the interviewer was like the interview-esque like character was just supposed to be her being able to talk to any like to just be able to talk without having like an outside voice on
Yeah,
anything.
talk to herself about her problems. Because remember in the previous episode, she tried doing that a little bit with Pietro, and then Pietro did the thing that she didn't like, and so
Yeah,
now she just like she has stuff on her chest that she wants to get off, and she feels like the only way she can do that is just by, I guess, interviewing herself. But then when the interviewer is like the show actually presents like the interviewer asks a question, that's when Wanda's like, wait a minute, you're not supposed to talk. So
exactly.
like something else is interrupting her alone time basically,
Yeah. Um,
which also could be a theme. Even if you want alone time, you're never in alone time.
yeah. Something always comes and disrupts it.
Exactly.
Um,
What's after this
it's
scene?
After this scene is when Monica enters the picture.
Okay.
So sword time. Woo!
Well, a little bit before that is like I mean, I don't know how to present it because the way that they did it, they showed it from the sword perspective first, and then they showed Wanda. So yeah, okay, yeah, I guess we can go to the sword stuff now.
Yeah, because everything after this is just the rest of the episode.
Yeah,
Um, so the sword thing is just three really short and quick um, little snippets. Um, the first one is Hayward at a new temporary sword setup, 8 miles from the Hex. Uh,
well,
and
like 8 miles outside of Westview, like the origin point of the hex, it's 8 miles away from it. It's not like the actual border of the hex because they're actually at the border of the hex.
yes, that's what I meant.
Yes.
That is that is totally what I meant. Anyways, um, so Hayward is talking with one of the other sword agents, and is like, what's going on with the gist of this segment is just that we learn is that the signal that was being broadcasted from the hex is no longer there. It just disappeared. So now they can no longer see the broadcast of the actual episodes that are going on of WandaVision.
Oh, really?
That's the gist of it.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Um,
Because basically, because when they're showing all the full screen stuff, I thought we were still basically watching through Darcy's monitor.
so hey, that's basically the gist of what Hayward and the other sword agent talk about. Again, their sword scene is very short and to the
It's
point.
brief, like we said before. Like all the sword stuff really does is add some more like flavored text and world building to it. They don't really have any more plot significance beyond that until until this episode actually.
Yeah, because the next two sword segments that take place right after each other in in context of the show, there are cuts in between them, obviously,
Right.
because the sitcom actually has to happen. Uh, but so the next two sword segments that I'm going to talk about happen at just right after each other. So I'm just going to talk about it as if it was just one giant scene.
All right.
So what happens is we see Monica and Jimmy Woo in the sword vehicle that they had borrowed from Hayward,
Borrowed. Right.
and we see them driving, most likely to the location to where Monica's guy was, um, and so they drive that way. As they're in the car, Jimmy Woo is looking through the email that Darcy sent them, showing what the final firewall was protecting. Because remember last episode she was in the sword plot she was hacking into Hayward's files to
That's
see
right.
what
Yeah.
exactly they were doing. And all that they could get up was repeated files about this project called Cataract. Um, and
Right.
basically the gist of what the project Cataract is this. The reason why Hayward and Sword has been tracking Vision and not Wanda is because they just want to get their sentient weapon back. Because when Vision was dismantled before Wanda stole him, uh, that we found out a few episodes ago. What they were trying to do was they weren't trying to disable him or decommission him. They were actually trying to turn him back on and actually like bring him back. Um, for
Yeah.
what reason? We
Yeah,
don't exactly
I don't.
know.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, that's kind of what I thought from the previous episode because I thought the entire point of Sword's involvement was to get Vision back.
Yeah. For
Yeah,
what reason? We just never knew.
right, exactly. Because like, as far as we know, it's just their property and they need it back. That's basically all
Hmm.
we know. That's
We
why.
can only
But
theorize.
yeah, exactly, and that's why I was kind of like confused why they actually didn't go grab Vision, even though he was dying. Because I remember you said, why didn't they just throw him back in? It's like, did they want him to die? I don't think they wanted him to die. I just think they needed to get him back at all. Whether he dies in the process or not was another question to be asked, though.
Yeah. They really just want his body.
Right.
They could care about whether or not his code or his data is alive. They just want
Right.
the body to experiment on.
Yeah, and they could bring him back to life on their own,
Yeah.
presumably.
Take the thing that Ultron had that created him in the first place. Just take that, throw him back in, and microwave him again. There you go. Just put him in for 30 more seconds. He'll be back.
No, the center will still
Uh,
be frozen though. That's the thing.
damn. Uh, anyways, um, and so that's what Project Cataract is just they want to get him back
Okay.
for whatever reason we don't know. And then they make it to where the guy was, which we actually learned that the guy was a girl,
Yeah.
a soldier.
Yes.
Now Marvel has confirmed and said that this woman is not the aerospace engineer that's been mentioned. Um, that's all they've actually said about this.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because these are just Air Force soldiers. Because I'm assuming since Monica is the daughter of Maria Rambeau, who was in the U.S. Air Force along with Captain Marvel before she was Captain Marvel. So
yeah,
yeah, Monica still has ties, with family ties at least, with the
yep.
U.S. Air Force, and so yeah, that's
And
basically what Monica, Jimmy, and this little Air Force division kind of are. There's two factions trying to get inside. There's the Sword faction of Hayward, then there's the Air Force faction of Monica, and so
yep.
like what is Monica and team's objective here?
Monica's team objective is to get into Westview safely and unchanged. Um, to find Wanda before Hayward, find Vision before Hayward, and try to convince them to help them stop Hayward. That's basically their objective. Their
Gotcha.
objective is to find and protect Wanda and Vision
Cool.
and their
Yeah.
family.
All right. With that said, Project Cataract has to be something sinister then.
Yes. That's
That's
actually
the
what I
only
was about to
conclusion that can
say.
be drawn to.
Yeah. Um, I believe that Hayward is a villain of sorts, or at least is getting set up to be a villain of sorts.
Yeah.
Um, I will actually expand on this near the end of this video. When we get to the whole like future things.
Okay.
When we get to that part, I'll explain more about this.
Cool.
Anyways, so what this little Air Force base has brought is they brought a state-of-the-art uh, space rover thing.
What do what I wrote in my notes for that vehicle was big A word tank.
It's a space rover that it was designed by Monica. Monica basically like gave them the designs. They created it. Then they send her in. Basically, that's what they do. They put Monica in like the suit. They put her in the tank.
Right, because
She drives it.
like the hex wall is full of like cosmic radiation or something. Darcy said it in an earlier episode. I don't remember what it's called though.
Yeah, it's shoot, I don't even remember.
Yep, that's the thing.
Yep. It's leftover cosmic radiation. There you go.
Basically.
So she drives on into it. They thought that it would just go in smoothly. It doesn't. And so she tries and she fails. And even the soldier and Jimmy actually have a little talk about it where the soldier's all like, it's disintegrating, and Jimmy's like, no, it's being rewritten. And then he
Mm-hmm.
runs and he's all like, get out of there, Monica. And then Monica eventually does get out before she gets sucked into it. And then what happens is the hex like almost like grabs the truck, the tank. It almost grabs it and then it throws it.
Yeah, it like jet propels it out or something. Yeah, which
Yeah,
I
it's
actually
almost
went.
like it's spitting it.
Yeah, spitting it basically. Yeah, which wasn't what I was expecting because I just would have expected that the truck would just fall in.
Yeah, I did too, but nope.
Yeah,
It
so
just
I
gets
yeah I because I thought that was weird because I'm still confused as to what what
what?
motivated Monica to like run in after that point. Because I felt like it would have her motivation to actually run into the hex at that moment would have been better perceived if the truck were to actually have fallen in and sucked into the hex rather than
Mhm.
spat back out. Because otherwise,
Well,
with that mentality, she could have been spat back out as well. Or am I missing something,
yeah.
Brian?
Uh, So real quick, the reason why I think it was spit out instead of like sucked in, from what we've seen before, is the reason why the reason why I think it was spit out is because back when Monica first arrived at Westview, um, the the hex wasn't very. It was very welcoming, I want to say. Don't know if that's the right word to use. But what I mean by this is that it was very easy to enter. Like when she used the drone to go in, it easily went in. When she got sucked in, she was pretty much like dragged into it. When the sword agent that they sent into the sewers, when he got in, he was again was able to get through it with ease. However, I think that after Wanda went back into the hex and then like did something to it,
The first,
I think
are you talking about her hardening of the wall or expansion of the wall?
her hardening of the wall.
Okay.
I think what that did is it made it to where instead of it sucking things in, it would spit things out.
Hmm.
That way it was harder for people to actually like enter the hex. And that way she wouldn't be disturbed as easily. And so that's why I think the or the tank was spit out instead of sucked in. Um, Now, when it comes to why Monica ran in, I think Monica would just she's too focused. I think she's just so focused on trying to protect Wanda and trying to protect like just her family in general. I think she's just too focused on that to just care about what happens to her.
Hmm.
That's why she would run in, even though the truck was literally spit out of the hex. That's why she would still run in to just because she's just is too focused on getting to Wanda.
Okay. So
Um, Now,
it was just by miracle that she got like the wall gave her entry, and it wasn't like she didn't know 100% that she would get entry.
yeah,
Okay then.
she would rather try than just give up.
Gotcha.
Um, Now one thing I actually liked about this scene is I love the effects of the truck or like the tank thing because only half of it actually enters the hex and gets rewritten, and then when you see it spit
Yeah.
out, you get a full look of the half pickup truck, half tank, and it's such a great effect. And I just loved it because if you look at the like where it splits, it's not an even split. Like it's not just like a straight line where you just get like half pickup truck, half tank.
Yeah.
You can actually see that like there's like divots and stuff, like a crack. And so I just really like I just really like that effect.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how they built that for scenery.
Yeah. Um, and
Anyways, as
so
Monica, like she does gain entry to the hex, but there's sort of like a twist to it.
so basically what happens is as Monica is forcing her way through the hex, um, we see her kind of like split almost. Not I don't think she physically split into different beings. I think it's more like her mind. Like I think it's supposed to be like a mental thing.
Hmm.
Of like a like us like the what it's showing is like what's happening to her mind and how like it like feels like it's probably being split. And like we actually see like her oh man, I can't even remember what her WandaVision character's name was. It was
Geraldine.
Geraldine. We actually see like a little like one of the splits that we see is of Geraldine. And things like we see like all like just her different Geraldine characters. I believe that's what they were.
Yeah.
And we also get a little like again the reason why I think why this is like us the camera showing what's going on inside mentally is because we also get like a little bit of like disembodied voices from what people said, like how we hear her mom talk to her. We hear her and her mom talk. We hear about like we hear the line that the nurse told her when she came back from the blip. Um, we hear Darcy say like, "Hey, your mom was lucky when they were handing out children's. They gave her the toughest one." Things like that. Um, Showing that she has like willpower. Yeah.
Right.
And so she eventually powers her way through the wall or through the hex. And then we finally see the start of her getting her powers. Yes.
Okay, so comic book buddy Bryan, the one who can
Yes.
understand comic book stuff, unless you're Hydra Soak. what,
Um,
what is Monica's powers? How does she get them? And what are her origins in the comic books?
so in the comic books, it's obviously different. But in the comics, how she got her powers was also because of cosmic radiation. Um, I don't remember if it was the same radiation that Captain Marvel was hit with, or if it was the same kind of radiation the Fantastic Four was hit with. Um, it's just you'd be surprised how many different types of cosmic radiation there are in Marvel.
Ah, it's it's almost like it's
because
a plot
because
element.
exactly because here's the thing: the Fantastic Four and Captain Marvel were both hit with cosmic radiation, but completely different types. And so
One was hit with radon, the other with uranium. You know how it works.
exactly, you know how it works. Um, and so that's Monica just got her powers from cosmic radiation. In the show, they changed this to it being the hex gives off cosmic radiation and it changes you on both a physical and a biological level. Yada yada yada. Science mumbo jumbo. Essentially, that's just the quick gist of radiation in Marvel.
Gotcha.
Yay. Um, and so now Monica's superhero name, which I cannot wait until we hear this in the actual MCU. Her superhero name is Photon, or at least that's what she has multiple aliases. There was even a time where she kind of subbed in for Captain Marvel and became Captain Marvel.
Oh.
Um, but her first and main alias is Photon, and the reason why is because, well, from what we see, it looks like her powers are going to be electricity based. How she can see like electrical currents and things like that. when her eyes were whitish.
Yes.
Um, so it looks like her powers are going to be mostly electrical based. Uh, and so so Monica just is now in the hex.
Yeah, but in the show right now, we have yet to see her use them, right?
Yes.
Cool, because all I wrote for
Um,
that part in my notes was acid trip.
yes. Um, the only thing we actually see of her powers are just what we got in that little snippet, and a little bit later on. Again, we don't actually see like the extent of her powers, or even like just a little sneak peek of her powers, except that just her eyes changing, and you hear a little bit of an electric stomp when she lands on the ground. That's really it.
Alrighty then.
Commercial break. Woo!
Oh yeah, I forgot. I don't actually remember in what sequence the commercial break landed in, but yeah, we should discuss it a little bit.
Well, that's see what again, the formula that we do is once we talk about the sitcom, we talk about Sword. After Sword, we do the commercial break, and then we continue on.
Alrighty then.
So, commercial break. This commercial is for an antidepressant called Nexus. And this commercial is literally speaking to Wanda. Because it's like, look, get some help. Call your doctor
Yeah.
and take this.
There's yeah.
Because
I like because like if you guys still watch actual television, they have commercials of like all these new prescription drug medicines that have like, yes, it does this, and then you have like some narrator listing off all the potential side effects while the commercial still has the people being happy. We're all happy.
exactly. And I love the side effects for this antidepressant, because the side effects are feeling your feelings, in some cases more depression, and things like that. Like it's really just making fun of the trope while sticking to like talking to Wanda. And it's the point of the commercial is also saying like, hey, reality doesn't revolve around you, or maybe it does,
Or
but
maybe it
still.
does, you know? It's subjective reality,
Um,
my truth.
exactly. So this entire commercial is just a jab at Wanda.
Yeah, it's pretty
Um,
funny.
it is a really funny
Talk to
commercial.
your doctor if you experience the side effect of death. We may want to change your prescription then.
Exactly. Now, Nexus. Why is it
Nexus.
called Nexus? The reason why it's called Nexus is because Nexus is a word used in Marvel that refers to portals. It
Portals.
refers to portals that can transport people into other realities, into other worlds from the multiverse, things like that. And there are also things called Nexus beings. Nexus beings are beings that have the ability to do what Nexuses are. Wanda is a Nexus being because she has the ability to warp reality.
Reality can be whatever I want.
Exactly. The reality stone is a Nexus stone. Things like that. Just
Gotcha.
Nexus is being able to warp reality.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Um,
That makes sense. Yeah. Because there's a video game called Ratchet and Clank Into the Nexus, where the gimmick of the gameplay is jumping through portals.
yep.
Yep. Alrighty
And
then.
so that's what Nexus is. So there's the commercial. That's really all I have, is just explaining what Nexus means. When it comes to the theory about each commercial being
A
a like
reference to an Infinity Stone.
I don't know which one this could be. Maybe the Soul Stone, but
Like,
even then, that's still kind of a stretch.
no, I think it is Reality Stone. We might be wrong with the Logos one, how we said that one is Reality Stone. I think I was thinking about this. I think the Yo Magic commercial was actually the Soul Stone, because his soul like depletes as he tries to open the yogurt lid.
Hmm.
So it could be that.
But who
Yeah,
knows?
who
It
knows?
all depends on what the final, what the,
Fine,
well, actually,
maybe two. I don't know. I don't know what episode 9 will do,
yeah.
or
Well, I
eight,
mean,
or eight for that
there's
matter.
6 Infinity Stones, and we're at episode 7.
Yeah, well, we've already had all like 6 commercials, haven't we?
Exactly.
Yeah.
We have. So who knows?
So who knows? Once commercial 7 comes out, we can forget all about this Infinity Stone
Exactly.
thing.
Anyways, so that's really all I have in the commercial is the whole explaining what Nexus is.
Yeah.
So onwards with the sitcom plot. So we now are back when Wanda got a knock at the door, or no, it's not a knock at the door. Monica just lets herself in.
Yeah, she barges right into the house. And
And Monica's like,
I like Wanda's reaction to this. She's like, "What are you doing here?"
exactly. She's like, I kicked you out. I flew you out the hex, and you still come back. What is wrong with you? Um, and so Monica and Wanda kind of get into a little like fight. Wanda just lifts her up and is just like, "Look, leave and never return." And
Altercation.
she's
Yeah.
like, "Yeah." And then when Monica falls out the sky, it's not a huge fall, but she falls out the sky and she does a superhero landing, and then you hear a little like crackling boom.
Oh wait, here for it. There's gonna be superhero landing. Hey, superhero landing.
Woo! And when she lands, you hear like a little crackling boom, almost as if like lightning or thunder just hit, or like electricity crackling.
Yeah.
Again, alluding to her electricity-based powers, which I hope we see, if not the next episode, the last episode. And so, Wanda eventually Agnes eventually comes and takes Wanda. I forgot a scene, and that's Agnes with the kids.
Well, like we can get to it later because yeah, I do remember that, but really nothing really happens in it. That's the thing.
No, it's just I'm just gonna quickly run through it because
Okay.
it's not a lot. Quickly, here's what happened in the scene. The kids ask if their mom's gonna be okay, and Agnes is like, "Of course, they're gonna be fine." And then she has one of those one-on-one interview segments where she's like, "Look, Ralph says I sugarcoat things, but you try telling a 10-year-old two 10-year-olds that their mom is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs."
Right. That was basically it.
Billy also says like, "I like it over here," and she's like, "Oh, good, because it's quiet. You're quiet, Agnes." And then she kind of just looks at the camera worriedly, or like confused almost. I don't know the exact emotion.
Yeah. It was like, what is up with these kids?
Exactly. So anyways, Agnes comes, grabs Wanda, and it tells Monica, "You should leave. You shouldn't be here. You should let Wanda be herself and like settle her own things out." So then they go to Agnes's house. And then Agnes sits Wanda down on the couch, and then Agnes is like, "Do you want to go? Do you want some tea?" And she's like, "Sure." So then Agnes gets up to go make some tea. And then Wanda is left alone and pondering, like,
Just left alone, like the living room's empty, like and like the TV is on with one of the worst kids TV shows ever.
exactly. She looks over, and then the camera zooms in on Senior Scruffy, the bunny. Then it zooms in on a fly on a curtain. I honestly, at this moment, have no idea what those could be alluding to. I think it's just to emphasize, like, the fact that, like, it's quiet, but I don't know exactly.
No, I think you're
But
on
then
something.
Wanda's like, "Hey, Agnes, where are the kids?" And we don't get. I don't think we get a response from Agnes.
No, she says they're in the playing down in the
That's right. They
basement.
are. That's what she says. She's like, "Oh, they're just downstairs.
Okay,
They're probably downstairs playing in the basement."
Okay, and for the record, if you audience members ever have kids and you decide to let your neighbors babysit them, whenever the neighbor says they're playing in the basement, that's a red alarms, red flags. That's when the red flag should be going. Never trust that
Yep.
person ever again.
Never. Well, Wanda goes ahead and goes down into the basement like a stupid person. And and so she wanders down into the basement. And she's like, Billy, Tommy, and as she's walking, we eventually see like tree roots on the walls and stuff, or at least that's what they look like. And she walks and she walks and she follows the tree roots until eventually.
Oh yeah. Also,
enters...
before you continue on, just like how I've been saying throughout these podcasts, pay attention to the aspect ratios. So for this entire thing, like everything in the sitcom world has been full screen. It's been a full screen aspect ratio. But as soon as Wanda I guess waddles her way deeper into Agnes's basement, that's when the full screen aspect ratio just slowly shifts down to 16:9.
Even my girlfriend even Rachel was like, "Hey, the aspect ratio changed."
Exactly.
So as she then continues and she eventually enters this like lair of sorts where we see a book that has a magical glowing aura around it, and then Agnes walks her way in and is like, "Surprise, biatch!" And she
has all frizzied hair and everything.
She is in full witch attire, and she's like, "Wanda, you didn't think you were the only magical person in town." And then she reveals that her name... Now, I said this back in the first episode about Agnes. Agnes has been confirmed in this episode to be the one and only Agatha Harkness. Yeah.
Alrighty, so please now, comic book Bryan, good sir, explain who Agatha Harkness is within the context of the Marvel Comics.
Well, actually, okay, so real quick, I will get to that. Just real quick, can we just talk about this song number?
Yeah, sure. Then we can end off the TV show for good.
This song number is it's a bop. It really is. Like it's great because the song is called "It Was Agatha All Along."
Right.
And we see Agatha's point of view from each episode.
Well, not each episode, just like key points.
Yeah, just key points in each episode. And so the episodes, like we see her winking at the camera when she walks up from episode 1 to do the housewarming thing. We see her from episode 2 in the town square during the talent show, how she's kind of like controlling something.
Something. I didn't understand that one actually.
I didn't either. To be completely honest, I think she might have been controlling Senior Scruffy, but I don't know exactly. Then we see, because she wasn't in episode 3. We see her perspective in episode 4. When she
not 4. Not 4.
Not 4?
5.
No, at 5. Sorry, episode 5. When we see her control, she basically like she is the one behind Pietro. And then we see her point of view in episode 6 with Vision during the car scene, how she was putting it on as like an act.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But it's nice to know who was behind Pietro. And all that kind of fun stuff. And then at the end of her song number, she says, "And I killed Sparky too." That is another thing I'm going to talk about. But first I'm going to answer your question, and I'm going to talk about her comic book origins.
Alrighty.
So Agatha Harkness is a witch. She is a witch. No one knows her true age, but she was a witch during the Salem witch trials.
Whoa.
In fact, back in episode 1, one of her jokes that she has is when her and Wanda are like, what's today special for? And then she's like, anniversary? Yes, anniversary. She says, the only way Ralph would ever remember our anniversary is if there was a beer named June 2nd. June 2nd is the day that the Salem witch trials happened. Just a little Easter egg. So Agatha was a witch.
I just pulled it up and it says the start date was February 1692.
Well, June 2nd was a thing. Okay, look,
Okay.
I'm not right about everything. um, but uh, she's from the Salem witch trials. That's the important part. And another thing about Agatha, some little tidbits that might come into play in later in either episodes or maybe even movies. Because who knows, Agatha might play a part in Multiverse of Madness. But some few things about Agatha. Agatha in the comics was the reason Wanda had her powers. Obviously, that was changed for the MCU because in the MCU, Wanda got her powers from the Mind Stone. Um, but some other things about Agatha is that Agatha was a teacher of sorts to Wanda. Um, and so that's what I actually thought they were going with in the show, but that turned out to be wrong.
I
um,
mean, like, at least in the first episode, I could kind of see that, but then they don't really go with it in any other future
no,
episode.
no, they don't. Um, anyways, um, so the reason why she killed Sparky, poor dog, may he rest in peace. So Sparky, so Agatha has a plant, or Agatha in the comics has a plant that she grows. Now in the show, she blamed it on azalea bushes, and that's why Sparky died is because he ate azaleas, and azaleas are poisonous. But in the comics, and I think that in the show she has these, and she was just covering up with azaleas, is that Agatha has a plant that she can grow that allows people to look into the future. However, the way that it works is that it must be consumed twice. The first time must be in hunger, so you must be hungry and then you eat it. And then the second time has to be right after you murder something.
Huh.
So what I think happened is Agatha first ate the plant during hunger, obviously, because she had to. And then when Sparky was brought into the world, she killed Sparky and ate the plant. That way she could look into the future.
Huh. Interesting.
Um, and so that's why I think she killed Sparky. Whether or not that's true, who
No,
knows? We
I
might
know.
find out in.
Well, no, I totally see that. Yeah, I totally see
Yeah,
that, and she plays it off as a joke too.
exactly.
She is
Um,
very proud of that. But yeah, no, that can make sense.
uh, and so that's the episode. However, we do have a post-credit scene.
There's a post-credit scene.
I know, right?
What?
7 episodes in. That's how long it took them to do it.
I have to go back now and watch it.
So a post-credit scene happens. This one has Monica looking around Agatha's house trying to find Wanda. She can't find her anywhere until she eventually opens the basement doors. You know how like they have like outside entrances, the
Yeah.
basements. She opens that, and then as she opens that, Pietro, I'm gonna put that in quotations. Pietro comes over and is like, Snooper's gonna snoop. And then it ends.
And then fade to black.
Yep.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, and that was WandaVision episode 7.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was a doozy,
It
especially in the
was a
end.
doozy. Exactly. Yeah, we like how I said, we're gonna get closer and closer to the climax, and I always say that the climax always happens in like the very last 2 episodes, and so basically, yeah, we're here. We're basically here
Basically.
at this point. We're basically here. All we need to do is wait another 7 days. But yeah, like as we can see with each episode, like the stakes keep progressively getting higher until the season gets to the overarching climax of it all. And so we're finally getting to that home stretch. We entered the home stretch with this episode, and really now because we revealed like there's been a hidden enemy inside the hex all this time, and so now we're gonna have to see like what, because like all we know about Agatha is that she's here and nothing else. And like this is
Yeah.
getting out of hand. Now there are two of them. And that's basically all we know. We don't know her intentions or her motivations or what she wants with Wanda.
We still have 2 episodes left.
Exactly. But
And who knows if that final episode is going to be an hour-long special.
yeah, it might be an hour-long special because that's something that TV shows like to do. Is like the standard formula for them is usually about 40 minutes long. Well, in this case, it's 40 minutes long. But then when it comes to like the epic season finale, tune it in next Friday, only on Disney Plus.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's usually like the hour-long season finale special that they have. So they might do that. We'll just have to see. But yeah. So at least two things that we have to, I guess, kind of figure out. Like we solve some mysteries. Yes, like every episode we get some mysteries solved, but then we're still left with more mysteries to solve next week. And so basically, what happened this week was, we figured out Agnes had been living under an alias, and she's actually a villain called Agatha Harkness. We need to figure out what her motives and intentions are with Wanda are, and we also need to understand what Hayward's significance with this plot coincides. We need to figure out what project what was the name of it?
Cadillac?
Cataract. Yeah, we need to figure out what Project Cataract is and why Hayward needs vision so badly. Because I think it's safe to assume that Project Cataract is something sinister.
Yes.
So those are the two things that we're probably most likely going to get the answers to next week, and then there'll be this whole big epic climax, probably an hour long for episode 9. And yeah, that's probably how the rest of the series would play out.
Probably.
Yeah, alrighty then. Well, do you have anything else to say, Brian?
No.
No, you're all good.
I'm all good. That's really all I had to say for the after talk.
Alrighty then. So that was our review and synopsis podcast of WandaVision episode 7. We hope you all enjoyed that review and analysis. Make sure to subscribe to our channel so you can keep up to date with our review and synopsis podcast. And I really hope that you guys are enjoying it because we're really putting a lot of passion into this project. So please show your support, and you're going to get some content along with it too because you're going to enjoy it. So please do that by liking and subscribing to the Gamebox channel today. And if you haven't already, and you've just been listening to our voices drone off on something you don't know what we're talking about, you can watch WandaVision streaming exclusively on Disney Plus, airing every Friday at least from now until March 5th, 2021. Anyways, you have anything else to say, Brian?
No. You summed it up.
Alrighty then. Thank you guys for watching. Have yourselves a fantastic night, and take care.
See you next week.